What would you say is like the most difficult scene you've pulled up to as an EMS?
I would say there was a car accident. It was snowing and it was a holiday, and the family members that were actually coming from the same house, but I guess someone left, they actually hit each other. And
oh my God.
That was more mind-blowing because of all the people on all the roads, and just, so that was rough. Oh, I haven't talked about that in years.
Welcome into the podcast, another episode of Living Large. Today's guest is a nurse practitioner. We're stepping into the medical field. She's also a golfer on social media, and she was a bodybuilder in the Arnold Classic. Welcome to the show, Samantha Gilbert.
Oh, thanks. Well, thanks.
First,
happy to be here in LA.
This is her first podcast, so you nervous?
Extremely.
Yeah?
Because I don't talk about this stuff.
Your job?
I don't talk about my job. So.
Well, before we get into the nurse stuff, I want to get into where you're from.
Okay.
Scranton, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I live in Scranton. I'm from originally near Reading.
Okay.
So 2 hours south, but I live in Scranton, home of the office.
If I know my research, the office was in Scranton, PA.
Yes.
Did they actually film it there, or is it just like the setting of it?
Some of it they film there, but mostly it is filmed out here in Hollywood.
Is it like cool? Like, do people come there to see this place?
Yeah.
Is Dunder Mifflin there? Like, is it what's?
There is a building there. There is also a gift shop there that you can.
So nothing more than it though. Mm-hmm. Just like, does it
Yeah.
say Dunder Mifflin?
Yeah. It's interesting. When you're living there though, you don't like it anymore. I'm
Why?
like, I still love the office. Like, it's still a thing.
Why don't you like living there? Or like, why don't you love the?
Because that's all everybody talks about is the office.
Right. So the horrible first question. We're off to a great start.
No, it's there. But I was sad when I moved up there because I loved the office. But when you find out it's not actually filmed all there and it's out here, I was sad.
It's a lie. Hollywood's a lie.
Hollywood is a lie.
Fake it till you make it, baby.
I
That's what it
know.
is. Let's talk about your tattoos real quick. What's going on here? Because I don't think I've ever seen a nurse practitioner. Sorry. You clarified on that earlier. Let's get into that first, actually.
Yeah.
What's the difference between a nurse and a nurse practitioner?
So I am an equivalent of a doctor, but I went the nursing route. So I started out EMS and firefighting.
Okay.
Became a nurse, was a nurse for how many years, and then you go and get your master's degree and you're a nurse practitioner. So I do everything a doctor does, but they just have to co-sign. So
why can't we call you a doctor?
because I don't technically have my doctorate.
Okay.
Yeah, I could. Doesn't mean a pay raise or anything for me. Doesn't do anything for me.
So what does a nurse do then?
A nurse is bedside. They are fulfilling the orders. They're giving the medications that I order and caring for the patient.
Which one is more important? I mean, they're both important.
So I'd be nothing without my nurses.
Yeah.
And I know that because I've done both. But they're bedside. They see the patient. They're with the patient all the time. I am at the screen most of the time doing the orders, charting on this patient. And
so if someone needs like an IV, you're not doing that, the nurse is? Mm-hmm. Yes, you are? Or
I'm not.
You're
I'm
not. So
no.
you don't really do anything with the patient then? You're
No.
more so behind the scenes.
Correct. And that's why they're like, oh, I never see a doctor. And I'm like, not usually, no, unless we need to, except for the initial admission. And if something needs to be updated every day, it's kind of it.
Are you able to tell patients, because I've seen like TikToks, everything that I learned is about on TikTok.
Absolutely.
It's like a nurse, like she'll post like an emotional piece. It's like, when you know so-and-so has this from their ultrasound, but you can't tell them, why is it that the nurse can't tell the patient, like, hey, we found cancer? Why do they have to wait for you, or do they have to wait for the doctor to give that diagnosis?
So yes, usually the nurses will not say anything until a provider says it, just because they want to explain it correctly. Because if you tell a patient, hey, we found cancer, then the provider comes in and says, it's not cancer, it's actually benign. I mean, that's a lawsuit, and that's so unsafe. And then it's a patient's life that you just kind of made.
So it's to mitigate risk. Mm-hmm. But even though you probably do know, because you've seen it so many times.
Absolutely.
You could. So you started off as an EMS? Mm-hmm. What was that like?
Amazing.
Yeah?
Yeah, it was the adrenaline rush. Like, obviously, car accidents and getting the patients, and you're the first person to see this. And it was fun. you don't make any money.
Yeah.
And you don't really go anywhere with it. So I want it to be further in the hospital. I want it to follow with the patient and actually care for them.
But how is it fun? Because it seems a little bit morbid. You're like, it's an adrenaline rush going to a car accident and potentially people are dead.
Yes, but you're helping. It's not like you're going to a car accident scene and hoping someone's dead. Or,
right.
I mean, it happens and I get to help. But
would you say that it was more difficult seeing things as an EMS person or a nurse practitioner?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Because you're on the scene.
Different stages.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. And for EMS, I could only do so much before handing them over. And as soon as I can get them to the hospital, at least I did that. Mm-hmm. But then as a nurse, you can only do so much until the provider takes over. And then as the provider, I mean, it's all on me to kind of figure out what needs to be done, do it, put the orders in, and make sure it gets treated. So being a nurse practitioner is definitely the hardest thing. It's the most challenging job I've ever had. It's rewarding, but the responsibility is all on me. What
are some difficult scenes? We'll start with EMS first, then we'll go to nurse practitioner. What would you say is like the most difficult scene you've pulled up to as an EMS person?
I would say there was a car accident. It was snowing and it was a holiday, and the family members that were actually coming from the same house, but I guess someone left, they actually hit each other. And
like they were friends?
Family.
Oh my God.
And they actually hit each other on the road. It was a bad accident. There were fatalities.
Mm-hmm. Is that
was more mind blowing because of all the people on all the roads, and just so that was rough.
Describe like that scene, pulling up to something like that. Is there hope, or is it like an on the scene? You're like,
at first when you get to a scene, obviously you have no idea what's going on other than what was called in. So it was snowing. I was actually with the fire company at the time. There was 2 cars. One was in a ditch, and there was another one off the side of the road. There was actually a child seat in the road. Mm-hmm. So obviously, like, you're thinking, there's a baby or something somewhere. Right. And that was shocking because we all rushed to the car seat, and then everybody kind of dispersed to the other cars. We didn't know they were family. Mm-hmm. We didn't know anything. So there was a female that was already deceased, and then the male critically injured, unaware, and we loaded him up and sent him with EMS.
He survived?
No.
Oh, no.
Yeah, he apparently bled out when he got there. There was a child. Child's okay.
Only survivor? Or? Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah. Oh, I haven't talked about that in years.
Is that hard?
Yeah.
When you get to a scene like that, is there priority?
Yeah. Absolutely. You have to decide what is you triage. That's what that's called. If you hear triage in the hospital, it's what do I have to do right now? What can be saved for later? And just prioritizing. Like,
do you prioritize children first, or women, or like?
Yeah, children. Obviously,
children first. Okay.
Children can go downhill really quick.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, and children are scary to treat. Mm-hmm. But yeah, children. Anybody that's like critically injured, or unfortunately, if someone looks unconscious and you think they're dead, if there is more than a couple people, we save those for last. Because they're presumed dead.
Wow.
Yeah. But it's all scenario based.
Yeah.
Ultimately.
When you see a scene like that, is there a typical location in the car that someone survives, or does it matter where they got hit?
It's a lot of the times you see that the driver survives.
Really?
Yeah. Passengers usually get ejected. You see a lot of like high school kids, and they're ejected, not wearing seatbelts or flown forward, windshields.
So it's definitely important to wear a seatbelt.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Damn. I couldn't imagine, like, I couldn't do this job. This is like you guys are heroes, you know? Like, it's so sad, really, because you're dealing with trauma so much.
Yeah.
How do you separate that? Like, how do you not get emotional?
Because you're doing everything you can. Mm-hmm. If I didn't think I was doing everything I could to help these people, and I have the possibility to save someone's life, then, I mean, I would crumble.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm watching these people die and I'm not doing anything. I'm helping. It does affect us. I'm not going to say I'm inhumane and I'm like, meh, it is what it is. But I have a really good work-life balance that if I'm not at work and I'm not dealing with sick and dying all the time, I'm golfing. I'm hanging out with friends. I'm socializing. I'm giving myself something to be happy about.
Yeah. Would you say there's a lot of depression in your industry based on what you guys are surrounded by?
Yeah. That and burnout. Burnout is big. A lot of nurses you'll hear, they're leaving the bedside. They're leaving healthcare, especially after COVID times.
Yeah.
They're gone. It's not worth it anymore.
How difficult was it during COVID to be a nurse?
That was tough.
Yeah.
It was tough because you have outside influence of non-healthcare providers. It's a fluke and nothing's happening. You have inside the hospital that you're witnessing everybody just dying. Like they come in, they don't look good, they're dying.
From COVID?
Because we don't know how to deal with it yet. We didn't know what to do, what to treat. And I just remember sitting on the units and I was wearing my gown, 2 masks, my face shield, my goggles, and you're just sweating for 12 hours. Can't go to the bathroom because you'd have to take everything off. It's not worth it. Patients are scared. You're scared. You're like, I hope I don't bring it home to my dad or my nieces. And I'm like, I just kind of isolated when I wasn't at work.
How did that feel, having that pressure from the outside world? Because it was a politically dividing thing.
Absolutely.
You had a lot of people saying, like you just said, COVID isn't real. This is all fake. It's just the flu. But then here you're saying that, no, I'm here every day. People are dying every day. How did that feel from the outside, people thinking it's not real?
I actually would remove myself from any conversation because it's like my dad and his friends or people on social media, and they're like, so what does it look like inside the hospital? I'm like, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Like, just, are you going to get the vaccine? Don't worry about it. Oh, it's a political. Don't worry about it. I literally would just shut down conversations. I would walk away. I didn't get involved because I'm like, obviously I don't know. I'm not a scientist. And why get distracted by that? I still had to do my job at the end of the day.
Was there a specific demographic that was suffering the most from it? Because I got COVID a few times and that, it sucked. I lost my taste and smell, but I'm here. I'm alive, I feel like.
But you're healthy.
Okay. So so it was based on your health.
Morbid obesity, heart failure, respiratory disorders, a lot of smokers, elderly population, their immune systems, anybody with a poor immune system like cancer, it's like you're just exposed to it and it got right in there. So
did you see a lot of people quit their jobs during that time? Yeah.
Absolutely.
What were some of the discussions behind the scenes between the nurses?
That it's not worth it.
To even do the job, you're saying? Or?
Yeah.
Why?
And I'm like, well, who's going to if we don't? And obviously travel nursing was huge at that time and you were making bank. It was insane. Everybody was jumping into travel nursing, but you still have to deal with the job.
What is travel nursing?
So you work for a travel company instead of the hospital, and they pay you in contracts, like 13-week contracts, to travel to different hospitals and work there.
Did you do that? Is that better than staying in one spot? Like, where do you live?
I would be in hotels a lot. I didn't travel too far. You can go out of state. I could have came out here. You just have to get I'd have to get a California license, but they would pay your stipend. So you would get food and travel and hotel money. And if you didn't need it, if you stayed with a friend, you actually banked that extra money. Yeah. But it's short term. So once COVID was kind of drifting off, all these nurses that were buying expensive vehicles and living large, it's like, you got to get a...
living large.
Oh, look at me. Look at me. So they had to figure out what they were going to do. The travel money was going away. And the hospitals are like, I'm not paying for travel nurses to be here anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah. So usually you worked in a hospital then.
Wait, what was I going to ask? That threw me off when you said that.
I
had my next question ready, and
like,
then that
no.
threw me off.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah, I have a question.
Okay.
Did you guys get raises during COVID because you were working so extensive, or no?
Ooh, this is going to trigger a lot of people. Sorry to the healthcare providers. So some people did.
Ooh.
Some hospitals did. Some other hospitals were like, we'll see. Travel nurses, like I said, you could ask for more money. You could go where the money was. But the people in these hospitals that were working for the hospitals didn't usually see raises. And a lot of people left. And they're like, all right, I'll go work somewhere else that's going to pay me.
I think, yeah, that's kind of an issue because you have Moderna and Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson making trillions of dollars. Mm-hmm. And then the people who are on the front lines mm-hmm. are still just getting paid mm-hmm. the same amount. Mm-hmm. What are the conversations like behind the scenes between you guys?
It sucked. It absolutely sucked. Like, how are you supposed to go to work and just be like, I am getting shit on mm-hmm. constantly. And more work, less people, more chaos, and yet you're getting paid the same.
What about the argument that you signed up for it? That's what you signed up for.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's hard because I'm like, I have really bad nights and I don't discuss them with people. I signed up for it. I have an easy night. I signed up for it. Yes, I know what I signed up for. Do I deserve to get treated like absolute garbage at work by people? No. Mm-hmm. I mean, but you do. And there are some nights that when people would say it's what you signed up for, it's like, I just want to harm you.
Well, you didn't sign up for a global pandemic.
No. But if you think about it, in the past, people went through it.
Right.
And they dealt with it. But no, it sucks. And I can't really argue that. I'm like, yes, I did. I could easily have had a job, like a 9-to-5 job, working in a cubicle, but I would have lost my job during COVID. I still had a job. Mm-hmm. People needed me during the pandemic.
Yeah.
I know.
I couldn't do that job. Let's get to the more positive side of things. I want to go through some funny stories here.
Okay.
My friend, my co-host Iggy, who's not here, he couldn't make it today. We were coming up with questions to ask you, and he wanted to ask you
funny healthcare questions.
What's the craziest thing someone's coming with stuck up their butt?
All right. So I don't work in the ER, but obviously we hear about things because sometimes they have to get surgically removed. And then they come to the units where we would witness this. I hear in the ER soda cans, candles, sex toys, but cucumbers. What else? It's usually non-sexual objects. Like these are random objects that your like everyday household objects just lodged up there. My favorite, though, has been an electric toothbrush. Just up there. We knew it looked
like
funny.
Like a vibrating one?
Mm-hmm. We were wondering why it looked funny on the CAT scan. And yeah, to each his own, right? To like, if you do you, boo. But if it gets stuck, I will see you.
What do they come? Are they embarrassed when they come in?
And I mean, I guess sort of, but I mean, you did it. Like, just tell me what you did.
Do they come in alone, or do they come in with their partner? Or like, what's this?
I feel like they come in alone a lot.
So they're just experimenting on their own. Mm-hmm. How far can I shove this thing up there?
Yeah, so but don't let go. Don't ever let go. That's what, that's the most romantic thing. AdamandEve.com. Don't let go. Sponsor me.
So what's the reason that they can't get it out on their own?
Because medical lesson. If you've ever...
I've never shoved anything up there, so I'm unfamiliar with this practice.
This is what we'll be doing after the show.
Yeah.
If you put something up there a certain degree, there's a reflex in our body that essentially will keep going with it. It will go up. And when it's too far, you can't get it.
So what is the surgery?
They have to.
Do they cut into you, or they go up straight up, and
So
like with clamps or something?
I think
Like,
you
how
can
far
try
is it?
either, but I don't know the surgery side of things. That's not my forte. But I know sometimes you can try to go up and get it, but still that's a risk because it could cause perforation. Like if you're sticking foreign objects up to get another foreign object, it's a huge risk.
It's probably very enjoyable for the patient.
Right? Well, no, that was at home.
Yeah,
They did that.
But now they're getting even more up there. Mm-hmm. Talk about a candle. How does one put a candle up there?
Oh, it slipped, right? That's what they say. It slipped.
What do you mean?
That's what patients will say is either I sat on it or
I
it
sat on
slipped.
it.
And you're like, I'm sorry, I don't walk around my house naked sitting on objects.
Right?
I could.
Yeah.
I could. But I don't.
What are some crazy excuses you've heard?
Ooh. Usually that it slipped. But like they don't go into detail. But they're all the same.
You guys got some weird ass fetishes going on. Don't stick it, like we talked about before the podcast. She said that's why a butt plug has an end. Mm-hmm. Do not stick something up your rear end that does not have
a stopper.
a stopper. Maybe they should start
That's why it's called a plug.
Yeah. Maybe they should start putting stoppers on electric toothbrushes.
Everything.
Everything.
Put a stopper on. Be careful of your objects in here.
When most people come in, do they lie about stuff?
Oh, all the time.
Why?
Probably embarrassment or fear of getting in trouble. Normal patients will tell me that they take their medications and I find out they don't. And it's like, I don't care. I don't.
Why
Personally,
do you think
it's not my body. Like, I don't care what you do or don't do. I just need to know so I can treat you.
I'm sure a lot of people want to know, will people get in trouble if they come, say they did an illegal substance and they come to the doctor because they're experiencing weird symptoms? Will they get in trouble admitting to you that they did it?
Not usually. If it's literally like, hey, I tried this at my house, it didn't go well, calling an ambulance. If there is a situation in which police need to be involved for like a fight or a car accident and it is involving other things, then
Are there times where you have to call the police?
I don't.
Okay.
There probably is, but that's not my department.
Why in the EMS situation and why does the fire department always come too?
To assist.
Why do all three always come?
Because police is for usually safety. Mm-hmm. They're backup just in case. You don't know what you're walking into. And we've had situations, unfortunately, that there has been police presence because it was like, what if the patient's suicidal? What if they have a weapon? And it's happened that they're going to start pointing it at other people. But I digress. EMS, obviously there's only two providers that usually show up, a paramedic and an EMT on the truck. It's only two people. What happens if the patient's morbidly obese? What happens if they're stuck in a certain location? We need firefighters. We need backup. We need heavy guys to just hoist these patients. Mm-hmm. We've had patients stuck in a bathroom. We need to get them out in a certain way or take them down the stairs.
Because they're so fat?
So, yes. or lodged in a certain position in the bathroom. So we've had patients stuck in between toilet? Like a toilet and a shower, like stuck there. So you need assistance, more than two people getting them out and getting them down the stairs or up the stairs.
I can't believe it.
So it's all for help. It's everybody's backing each other up.
You're in Middle America, Scranton. I'm from Ohio. It's Midwest. Mm-hmm. Is the health level low there? Like in terms of fitness? Like, are most of your patients on the bigger end? Or can you talk about
Scranton is a very, I call it like down home cooking area. So they don't eat well. It's not like we go outside and we have smoothie places and acai bowls. It's like
barbecue.
You got barbecue. You've got fried food. You've got fast food, and that's how they eat. Everything is gluttonous. Everything is that's the way of life. So I think poor areas will just eat a certain way and not take care of themselves. We don't have a lot of gyms up in our area either. We don't have Pilates classes. It's not a very health conscious.
Yeah.
So.
That's something I always noticed too when I first moved to LA. Everybody's here is super health conscious. And then I go back to Ohio, get dinner with my family, and it's like, hey, we're going to get burgers and fries. And when I go with people here, they're like, hey, let's go to Erewhon. Like,
yeah,
very different lifestyle.
Mm-hmm. Let's go to get kicked out of Applebee's.
Yeah, with bottomless drinks or whatever.
Of course, yeah.
You talked about suicides and people with weapons. Pennsylvania, small state, I guess. Have you had to deal with murders?
There are some areas, yeah, that are bad, actually, in Scranton. And I'm from around Reading area, which is a very high crime area. It's it's less than Philly, I believe, but I think Reading is actually one of the highest in the country.
For crime.
And yeah, I did police dispatch there. I know the area. Going up to Scranton, I thought it was a safe area. I used to run around the area. I was training for a half marathon, and I'm like, yeah, I'm running at 10 o'clock at night. And my friend texted me and they're like, don't ever do that again. And I was like, why? And they're like, are you serious? I had no idea that there was like bad parts of Scranton. I was just unaware. But I can walk around the city during the day and it's nice and people are nice. I mean, we have a homeless population as well, but it's nothing like out here.
Have you ever had to go to a murder scene?
No, I have not. Suicides, yes. When I was EMS, so that's near Reading area, a lot of suicides. And I worked in an area that I grew up. So friends, overdoses, that's intense, I will say.
A suicide? Or
people that you know, car accidents, suicides.
Does that happen
it's people I grew up with. Like you're like, I went to school with this person and then you find them.
Do they have someone else come in instead of you since there is an emotional connection?
No, not usually. If you can't handle something and you verbalize, you can't handle it. Like I can't take care of a patient or I can't be here. People are okay with that. I've never had that because I still want to help. I was first on scene to one of my friends that killed himself. And I was like, okay, like it's just, you remove yourself from that personal connection because it's still a patient and you treat them accordingly. It's still respectful.
What is your job when you show up to something like that, a suicide? Are you supposed to try to assist to bring them back, or is it just...
If it's obvious deceased, obviously you can't do anything. You call the coroner's office. You make sure you don't touch anything and let the police handle it.
What is the process like when someone calls 911, right? They talk to the dispatcher and then... Because I hear a lot of videos on TikTok, like dispatchers, some of them kind of suck, right?
Yeah.
What is their job like? How are they dispatching while being on the phone? Are they typing things to you? So how does that work and what's the timeline on that?
So same thing. It's all about prioritizing. So I actually did police dispatch. So when someone calls, you find out location immediately and why are you calling? So you can send someone out or you can be like, all right, this sounds like complete BS. Someone will be there eventually. But in a medical emergency, you are location and what's happening. And your EMS is already on the way. Like as soon as we put the location in, EMS gets notified. We're going to the location. We don't really know what we're going for yet.
Really? Okay.
As soon as they get updates, they let us know on the radio. So you literally are just responding to a call and you're like, okay, now what? And they'll tell you on the way.
So the dispatcher's on the phone typing or just dispatches you, hey, go to this place. You get in.
And they usually say for what? They're like unconscious patient or medical emergency. And then, like I said, then you can get updates on the way usually.
So you did police dispatch?
I did police dispatch when I was in nursing school, yeah.
What was that job like?
Chaos.
Really?
Yeah, because a lot of people call 911 and it's either, oh, someone parked in my spot, or they shooting. Oh my God, that was probably one of my favorite calls. They shooting. I'm like, where? I don't want to get involved. Well, why'd you call me? I'm just letting you know they shooting. And I'm like, you got to tell me where you're calling. I don't want to get involved. And hangs up. I called the number back. I'm like, where are they shooting? I don't want to get involved. Like,
do you guys not have like, do you have location GPS on the phone that calls?
So you can sometimes, but we're not the FBI.
Yeah.
Like, this is not. So, and then usually someone else will call. So like one of my coworkers would pick up and be like, well, I think it's shots fired here, so send to that location.
Nah, they shooting here.
Yep. Because, people don't want to be involved. They want to report it, but they're like, nah. Hey, they doing drugs? Where? Oh, I don't want to get involved. I'm just letting you know they're doing drugs. Oh God, it was such a frustrating job. But
that is, because you get, I mean, I've called 911 a few times, but like if it's not an emergency, I'll be like, hey, not an emergency. I need connected to this line.
Yeah.
And then
the non-emergency lines. Yeah.
Yeah. But I feel like it's so hard to find the non-emergency line. Mm-hmm. Like I had a bird on my.
Yeah. I just called 911.
Well, it was
There's
like a
bird.
falcon or a hawk, and it was like stuck on my balcony. And I looked up like Animal Protective Services or something.
Oh, okay.
Tried to call them. They didn't answer. I tried to call some other thing. They didn't answer. And I was like, I don't know what to do, bro. There's a fucking like hawk on my bill. Like it's stuck. It kept running into the wall. So I just called 911. I'm like, hey, this isn't an emergency, but connect me to like animal, whatever. And then they did it.
That's fine.
I hated calling 911.
Yeah.
I called it a few times, but in LA, I think they do have your location, because there's been times I was driving on like the highway and I see like a burnt car, like a car burning on the side of the road. And I'm like, hey, there's a car burning. And they're like, and they literally tell me my location. I'm like, yeah.
That's probably because 10 other people just called and said, I don't want to get involved.
I don't want to get involved. It's weird to call 911.
It is. Yeah.
Have you yourself ever had to call 911?
I have. Yeah. And it's like, you know what? I don't care. My dad won't mind. I had to call 911 for my dad. And I was also in the medical profession at this time, but I'm like, okay, I have to call 911. And I was anxious, and I'm like, why am I freaking out? I know exactly what to say. And she's like, all right, calm down. I'm like, I am calm. Like I am. I'm like, now it's like, this is what it's like to be on the other side of the line, rather than, all right, ma'am, calm down.
Yeah.
I'm sending someone to your location. And I'm like, I am calm. I'm like, what are you talking about? And they're like, how's your dad? I don't know.
What was going on?
He was on the floor and he had a slip disc and he couldn't get up and he's freaking out. So I'm like, I don't know what's wrong. I think I hurt him. Like,
why is it that it always comes across as the 911 dispatcher is just a bitch?
yeah, it's a high stress situation.
Okay.
And I'll say that for EMS and firefighter and nursing, we all come off that way. We all come off so abrasive. And I know my coworkers will attest to this with me, that it's just because it's how we respond. You have to be professional and it's higher energy. So that's how it is. They're not actually like that.
Yeah.
Dark humor, sarcasm, we are. Yes, absolutely.
Well, you hear some of the calls too, and you clearly, like some of the people are just like, ma'am, if you don't calm down, I'm not going to help you. Like they'll say shit like that, you know?
I can't vouch for that.
Yeah. Well, of all the jobs you've had, what would you say is the most stressful?
My current job. Absolutely.
Nurse practitioner?
Yeah. It's the most responsibility. Like I didn't realize it when I was bedside nursing, because I'm like, okay, I have a provider if I need backup. I am the provider. I am the backup. I am in charge of the patient and the staff and everything else. And if I can't figure out what's going on or I can't help them, that's on me. So.
Let's talk about your bodybuilding career a little bit. What made you get into that?
I was fat in nursing school because I was eating too much queso and Dunkin' Donuts. So I started going to the gym, and there were bodybuilders there, and my ex-husband at the time was like, I think you should try it. You'd be really good. Got addicted and went into that. Did that for 5 years.
That's really rare to see a female get into bodybuilding. What made you like?
Well, so bikini is like, they're the tiniest. They're that like not muscular, but like in shape, kind of attainable look. and I wanted to lose weight, but then it was like I started seeing like abs and my shoulders were all capped, and I was like, oh, look at me. Mm-hmm. And then it got addicting because once you step on stage, it's like
the bronzer and stuff.
Yeah, a little tan, little tan. Mm-hmm. But it becomes addicting.
So you didn't get full in like steroids, like jacked girl at the gym.
No. And not everybody does them, even if you're in physique or bodybuilding. But if you want to be competitive, if you want assistance with keeping that muscle mass and the low body fat, people do go down that road.
Is it difficult to maintain?
Yeah. I mean, at work, all the nurses have donuts and they're eating like shit. And I'm sitting there with my cold chicken and rice. And I'm like, none for me. Thanks. Like,
yeah.
I'm just starving myself here.
How do you feel about that? Because nurses are in the health field. Shouldn't they know to be healthy?
Yeah, but you know what? I mean, it's stress, and we're just stress eating, and people, oh my God, family members will bring us donuts. There's a Krispy Kreme in Scranton. Mm-hmm. Krispy Kremes all the time.
Every day?
Mm-hmm. You don't see a family member say thank you for taking care of their loved ones with like a box of carrots. It doesn't happen. It's like
flowers?
chocolates.
You can bring flowers.
Yeah, they die. And then that's kind of morbid because...
Yeah. You're just getting donuts brought out to you. Mm-hmm. Have you ever... Whoops. My bad. Have you ever developed like a how do I phrase? Have you ever developed an emotional connection with a patient?
All the time.
A romantic connection with a patient?
Never.
Has a patient ever tried to romantically be involved?
Well, I mean, I get fake proposed to all the time. Mm-hmm. Usually, I've had a frequent flyer. That's what we call him. That they keep coming back in. He's like, "Didn't I propose to you last time?" And I'm like, "Yes, you did." And the answer's still no. Yeah. Thank you, though. No, it's. I mean,
do you have a lot of patients trying to live out fantasies?
People watch too much TV. Is the problem?
Yeah.
I'm like, this doesn't happen. This is not Grey's Anatomy. Like this.
There's never. Have you ever had a situation where someone's on their deathbed and their last wish is to get
jiggy with it?
Jiggy with it.
No.
Never had that?
No, I've never had that happen.
Would you do it?
No. No.
Would you get in trouble?
Yeah, absolutely. That's so. No,
I'd do it.
Would you?
Fuck yeah.
Well, now what?
Dude, if there's a cancer patient and it's like, I've never had sex.
That's their last wish is to have sex with Mark Dohner.
Yeah.
You're like, I got to fulfill this wish. No, unfortunately, I'm not Make-A-Wish Foundation. This is not that.
Maybe I wouldn't do it. Fulfill their dream before they go.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever heard of a staff-patient relationship. I've heard of staff. I mean...
Well, let's talk about that a little bit because I did see...
That's insane to me.
Is there
I'm like, do you guys not work? Like, I'm working when I'm at work. I don't...
Oh, they're hooking up at work?
Yeah.
At your job, specifically?
Not this current job.
Okay.
This is definitely previous when I was a nurse.
And everybody knew about it? Did they try to hide it?
No. But you hear about it, and I'm like... I'm doing my job when I'm at work. I can't imagine...
I do get a lot of my information from TikTok.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Another
what do you
TikTok
hear?
I've seen is that I can't remember if it was nurses have the most affairs or the
healthcare in general
have the most affairs.
Mm-hmm. But I think it is like, it's the nurse mentality, right? Everybody thinks it's just nurses, but it's not.
Is it because you guys are spending so much time together?
Mm-hmm.
I would assume. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And building those relationships more so than the relationship at home.
At least 12 hours a night, right? That's my shift. And you're trauma bonding with these people. They see the worst of the worst. They understand you. It's the best connections you've ever had. I'm like, my friends outside of healthcare would not understand. So yeah, you get attached to these people.
Yeah, because I think there was a study done and it said the number one person not to date is a nurse.
Mm-hmm. I vouch. Don't date us.
Why?
They're hard to relate to. And
elaborate more on that.
so I was married to someone that was not in the healthcare profession. He didn't understand. He didn't understand that when I came home from work, I wanted silence because the bell's going off, the constant demand for 12 hours to be needed, to talk to these patients, it's just high energy. And I want to come home and quiet, and I don't want to make decisions. And I just need like the home to be my safe space. And they don't get it. They don't understand the difference between a good night or a bad night and the insides to it.
But don't you think that'd be difficult for him though? Because he doesn't get to see you all day, and then you want to come home and just have silence.
Absolutely. And I tried, but it was fake. Like I would be like, all right, let's go on a date, you know? But I'm so worn down. I don't want to do anything. I'll go to the gym, but I don't want to talk. Or I just did CPR on a patient and they die and it was morbid. And then you come home and you're trying to understand from the other person's point of view, but I can only focus on I'm worn down. I can't.
Who would you recommend that nurses date then? Because honestly, like hearing this though, like I feel like that'd be very difficult to date someone like you, where you are dealing with such trauma all day. And like you said, I'm sure you have bad days, obviously, and good days, and coming home and like not knowing which version I'm going to get.
Yeah. For me personally, I found that like if I were to start dating again, it would have to be someone that is very understanding and very calming energy, because I'm very higher energy all the time, but I can't come home and have that same high energy because I can't match it. And when they're not getting their energy out and dealing with stuff like I am, they just, like I said, they don't understand. I understand, like, we are hard to date, but it's even harder because it's like, I still want someone that I can have in my life, but that's why I'm not dating, because I know it's difficult.
Would you say that caused difficulties in your marriage?
Absolutely.
Your job?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I tried verbalizing, but it just wasn't being heard and understood, reciprocated.
It's now that I'm thinking about it, like I'm in this like la la land, right? Like I live in LA and I make YouTube videos and a podcast. And what is normal dating like? I don't even know. Like that is so crazy for me to think about right now, because this reality, LA is not reality. Mm-mm. Like the life that we live, like
no,
there's no, like I don't have a 9-to-5. I've never dated someone with a 9-to-5. I actually did start talking to someone with a 9-to-5 at one point, and I was like, I couldn't do it. It was very weird.
Because you're not available randomly on a Wednesday. You're like, that's weird.
It wasn't that. It was just more so we couldn't relate. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's probably the most important thing. Like,
and I couldn't date someone that had a 9-to-5 because I've never worked a 9-to-5.
What is your 9-to-5 though?
I work night shift. I'm 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. I usually work 7 nights on, 7 nights off. Sometimes 11 nights in a row, some off. Mm-hmm. It's random, but I sleep during the day.
All day. That's crazy.
Yeah. I do the gym. I sleep. I prepare for the next night. And I couldn't imagine having somebody that's Monday to Friday, 9-to-5. Because same thing. I'm like, if I want to go golfing on a random Wednesday during the day, I will. But that person's working.
How do you adjust? Because you have 7 nights on, mm-hmm. You're sleeping during the day, and then you're 7 days off. You obviously want to do things during the day. Mm-hmm. How do you constantly adjust?
So there's 2 methods. Either you stay awake after your last night and you just get yourself so tired that you sleep overnight, or you take a little nap and try to adjust. Either way, you're screwed. Mm-hmm. Like, it hurts.
Because sleep's obviously the most important thing. Mm-hmm. Like, I could never do that. You got the craziest job.
I do. But I love it. I wouldn't change it for anything.
To each their own.
I know. I thrive in chaos.
Are there any miracle stories where you can't believe someone survived?
Ooh. I mean, it wasn't my patient in particular, but there was a patient that was shot in the head and survived. This is so many years ago, but I'm like, you think about, okay, you're shot in the head and you die, but it's amazing how.
What was that story?
So it was a shooting in the city near Reading, and the patient came in and they were unconscious, but apparently the way the bullet went, it just missed everything like vital, and the bullet was still in there, but
In the brain?
in the brain. And you don't see that. Like, that's like 1 in a million. Like, usually it point blank and you're done kind of thing. Or usually there's an exit wound. Or
Right.
So that just blew my mind that.
No pun intended.
Yeah,
God, sorry, that's a bad joke.
living large.
Fuck,
Goddamn,
sorry.
all these puns.
Time and a place.
Butt stuff. And butt stuff with Mark Dohner. Dun, dun, dun.
Blew my mind.
There you go.
What causes someone to die from the bullet to the head? Is it the exit wound?
Ooh, that's a great question, because it depends. What are you hitting? What are you shooting at? If I'm gonna shoot you in the leg, you're not gonna die from that.
It could, right? If it hits like an artery, right?
I was thinking more your ankle,
Oh, okay.
the Vans.
I still wouldn't want to be shot, but
Yeah, absolutely. I could shoot you right in the femoral artery. Boom, hit an artery. You'll probably bleed out unless I take my thumb or my hand and stick it in the wound and hold your artery until we make it to the hospital.
what's the key to survival?
LA traffic, you won't survive.
Yeah, right. What's the key to survival if you do cut an artery?
Hold it.
Hold it?
Actually,
Like put your fingers in there and...
I love this story. We had a motorcycle accident, and the guy's leg was not doing well. Let's just say that. Traumatically disgusting. And I actually had to put my hand in the wound and hold pressure the whole way to the hospital, or he would have bled out, even with the tourniquet, even with everything
And
else.
he survived?
Yeah. Apparently, you know what? I thought about this before. I've stuck my hands in a lot of wounds to hold pressure. I'm just sticking hands random places, not up people's butts, though.
There you go.
There you go.
A lot of people talk about or they say before they die, they see a light of them like entering into heaven or whatever. Have you had any experiences with that or stories about that?
My patients have said that. And you don't know what it is. Is it like the medication that's kind of making them delirious? Like a hospice patient, you want them to be comfortable. We're giving meds so that they're kind of unaware that they're going downhill and they are dying. But I've also heard that patients that have coded, so went into cardiac arrest, their heart stops, we've done CPR, they come back and they say they have this out of body experience. And it's like terrifying to think about, because you're like, what is it? Is it the meds? Is it the lack of oxygen to the brain? And obviously, me being me, I'm just like, well, there's a science behind it. There's a reason. But people, they have their religion, they have their beliefs, and I respect it. So when they say that they have this out of body experience and they see the light and it's not their time yet, that's fantastic. I love hearing that stuff.
What have they said? What are some stories you have?
Pretty much just that is, I had a lady that she said she saw the light and it wasn't her time. And I teared up because I'm the one that did CPR, and I'm just like, she's like, thank you for saving me. She's like, it wasn't my time yet. And she's like, I saw the light, but it was very quick. And then she came back.
So she died?
No, she was okay.
But she died at one point or no?
Yeah. So heart stop, lung stop. We did CPR. So technically, yes, she was dead for a little while.
What's the longest time you've done CPR for and saved someone?
And save somebody. I would say the longest, maybe around 28 minutes.
You can go that long and bring them back?
Yeah. If there's a point that you're like, there's nothing here. We're trying. Families want us to keep trying, and happy to. I just want what the family wants. But yeah, if you're like, I kind of sensing a rhythm, we can either shock them and keep them going, or there's no signs of life, then yeah, you can keep working.
If you're doing it for 28 minutes, you have to be giving them oxygen, right?
Yeah, you're giving all these medications. We are usually intubating them at the time, or it's called a bag valve mask, and you're breathing for them and doing CPR, giving meds. There's a whole cardiac arrest protocol.
Well, here's what I don't understand. So we breathe in oxygen, right? And we breathe out carbon dioxide. So why, when you give someone CPR and you breathe in carbon dioxide to them, does that help them when it's not oxygen?
We're giving them the oxygen from the bag. Okay. So it's,
but I'm saying if say someone drowns, right? And you're supposed to boom, 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 blow in the mouth, right? Aren't you blowing carbon dioxide into them, not oxygen?
Yes, technically, but it's not all just carbon dioxide.
Okay.
Yeah.
CO2. Isn't O2 oxygen?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, I'm asking.
We're not going to go down that science
okay.
route. But yes, ultimately, you can't do it for a long period of time. You want to get actual oxygen into them.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. It fucking makes no sense to me.
It's a lot.
Last question. How do you deal with being around sad and sick people all the time?
Well, work-life balance. So because I work 7 nights in a row, usually I have 7 nights off, I make sure I am surrounded by happiness and socializing with good people and doing hobbies that I love so I can recharge and go back to work. I show up for these patients every night. I show up for my staff. I want to be present, and I can't without quote unquote self-care. So, but of course we're going to be sad and we deal with it certain ways. And obviously we're very morbid with dark humor and sarcasm, but we're all there for the same reason. And I have colleagues that like, every time I show up and I see they're there, I'm like, it's going to be a great night because it's like teamwork and you're still with those people and taking care of patients and knowing that we can help these patients and do something for them. I love it. But I couldn't work so many days in a row. 11 was a lot. And then I kind of mentally shut down after that last day. And then I recharge. I call my friends. I want easy conversation that's not healthcare related at all. I want to golf.
So not a podcast with me?
Yeah. I mean, the butt stuff kind of is refueling my life here before we golf tomorrow.
So you just kind of rely on like the staff and stuff to keep you guys up?
Yeah. It's a really good vibe. I have really good coworkers, and that says a lot. Because if you hate your job, if you hate the staff you work with, it's going to show because you just don't care.
Do you guys hang out outside of work?
Not usually, actually. I'll text them, but we work different shifts sometimes or schedules, and trying to schedule with a healthcare professional to hang out outside of work doesn't happen. Yeah. Unless you're getting breakfast after work.
So dinner.
And drinks.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for coming on. It was really cool to hear your story. And guys, if you ever want to stick something up your ass, make sure there's an end to it. Or if it's a toothbrush, put an end to it, or attach a string or something so you can just pull that thing out. I'm going to try it tonight. But hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and we'll see you next time.